on then, Doug.
Okay, yeah, right. Good afternoon, my friends. You're just going to meet Gavin now at the neighbourhood team. They've put a film show on and some demonstration. We're just going to meet Gavin now, so I hope we have a good day. We're just going to go and find Gavin now.
Yeah.
And I think these people are part of Gavin's team, so I'll let you do the rest, Claire.
Yeah.
And I'll go find Gavin for you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you doing?
You okay?
John's well, Gavin wanted Claire to do the filming, blah blah blah.
So, what is
Big achievement this.
your goal? Yeah. What is your goal?
Our goal
Yeah, you know,
is
like,
to get people off their backsides and not watching telly.
yeah.
You,
Get outside.
that is brilliant. What I keep saying, but they don't listen to it.
You want to live? You
Don't
gotta
listen to
move.
it. Yeah, I'm not listening to it. Yeah. Me and you, mate. We'll war free, me and you, won't we? Yeah, great. All right, Claire. Yeah. So we're just going to wait till more go in there.
Yeah.
There's more people coming in there, isn't there? Yeah. Then it's all yours, Claire.
Right, so, what are the Withinshore Waste Warriors all about?
So we're a Withinshore wide litter picking charity and organisation. We go into our parks and wooded areas.
Yeah.
We like to see Withinshore clean, litter free.
And the Waste Boys do a fantastic job.
And they keep all of our green spaces clean and tidy and safe for children to play on.
This is Vicky from Forever Manchester charity. She does great work. This is Tim Whiston, our local councillor.
Hi.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much. Shannon.
Go on. Go on, Doug. Can't see
Hello
you in the
there,
first
my
shot.
name's Doug
Yeah.
Wilson. I believe you're a great friend of Claire's in the group. She was a member years ago.
Yes.
It's nice to be here to meet you, Paula. You know, could you tell me though, how do you get people to join your group?
It's mainly word of mouth.
Yeah.
We have flyers like this.
Yeah, fine.
That we do at promotional events just like this basically. Or sometimes we do them at Asda, we do them in the forum, wherever it's available. We can get there, we're there. We also have a website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
You're well organised, aren't you?
Yeah,
And I believe Claire was a member of your group years ago.
Yeah,
She
it must
says
have been.
roughly about 14 years ago.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a while ago.
yeah, time flies, doesn't it? You know, and it's nice to keep in touch. You know, obviously we can work with you
Yes.
as well as you working with us as well. You know, and as I say, it's a nice achievement really to see someone here a big day like today. We're in this film today, by the way. Claire's in it as well. I do a lot of filming with John and Claire. We've just done one over the land ownership of Withinshore, the land ownership, which is the Tattons and the Shentons. And all these churches go down, which Claire took over that side of the churches. She had more information on that. So with the two of us, that's all it was made the film. Oh, and her husband, Daddy, by the way, she's married now.
I do.
Yeah, you know, so he helped out a little bit, you know, and it's surprising how much knowledge we've got just by reading a little bit, going out to certain neighbours and then asking. And it's a shame that the Shentons don't get more, not enough information about the Shentons, mainly the Tattons, because they were so powerful. Going back from the 13th century, this, that and the other. But it's a shame the Shentons don't get that real what they deserve, because they had loads and loads of land, but the Tattons had the power
Yes.
and the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As soon as any trouble started, the Tattons used to like sell and move on. You know what I mean? But they've been all over the place. But with that, I'm going to hand over to Claire. Have you got any questions?
Yeah, so, Paula, where are you based then now, Claire?
Well, we do our shows at St Andrew's Church, Brownlee Road. So the adults meet on a Tuesday at 7:30, and then the junior group, they meet on a Sunday at 3 p.m. Both groups, it's just £1 a week, and that basically just goes towards the rent. You know, we purposely and have kept it as cheap as we can to encourage as many people as possible. You know, I mean, these are some of the pictures of shows gone by. This year we're celebrating our 20th anniversary of Wythenshawe Cats, so we will be having a bit of a party, and we both, Lee's the secretary, both have a task really to get in touch with all the members. So luckily I found you today.
And where's that the 20th being celebrated?
That's the 20th of this month.
In the Methodist Church on
Methodist,
Brownlee Road. Yeah. Oh, it's nice actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It's nice to have met you.
Yes.
It's nice
You
to have
too.
the interview with you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay, Claire, you got that now. That's a souvenir.
You all ready? Yeah. Thank you for coming here today to our Sharpston community event. I'm Councillor Madeline Monaghan, one of Sharpston's 3 elected members. I'll introduce myself and everyone else in a second, but first I'll quickly run through what we're going to do today. This is a session where people who work for and care for Sharpston, but especially for the residents who live in Sharpston and who care about their neighbourhood and community, where we can come together to discuss as equal partners 3 things. Sharpston here and now. What's it like to live and work here? What are the good things and the opportunities we've got going for us? And how can we build on them to make more of them, but also what needs to change for the better? And who needs to do what to get us more of these good things and to make things better? We're going to watch a short film about Sharpston and some of the great work that's already going on in this area. Secondly, we'll look at Sharpston in the future. The vision we're working for in Manchester is of a thriving city where talented Mancunians enjoy well-paid work and a good quality of life into healthy retirement. And we're getting there. This is a growing city. Life is better for the many local people, but too many people are not feeling the benefits yet. Too many, some in Sharpston, have been hit the hardest by funding cuts, shrinking public services and the lack of chances to develop into the best that they can be. We've got to put that right. We want every Mancunian to benefit. 3. So we'll also look at what the missing links are. Let's talk about how to get over the barriers between Sharpston here and now and what we want Sharpston to become in the next decade. So what do people need to get over these barriers? What can each of us do to support each other and Sharpston to that ambitious vision for the next decade? So let's do this together. Let's see what we can come up with. Let's listen and learn from each other. Let's have your feedback. Let's talk about how to get these basics right. How to address some of these issues that impact upon Sharpston residents, but let's not be afraid to think big and different and really hopeful for ourselves and for Sharpston. So, I'm Councillor Madeline Monaghan, as I've said. I'm a local Wythenshawe resident and I grew up on Calcroft Road in Peel Hall in Wythenshawe. I attended St Elizabeth's Primary School and have very fond memories of living here. I used to help Councillor Jerry Carroll. I don't know if anybody remembers him. I used to help Jerry and our MP Mike Kane, and I was so inspired by the work that they were doing for our community and the neighbourhoods of Wythenshawe that I became a local councillor myself. But making a difference to Sharpston isn't just councillors' work. It isn't just the council's work, it's everyone's work. It's your job too. Making sure that Sharpston and everybody in all of our communities can become the best they can be and can benefit from their city's growing success. It's a job for each and every one of us. How? Part of today's session is an opportunity to talk to each other about the how. What difference can you make? With the council and voluntary and community groups already here doing great things. And what new ideas can you come up with today? Can you take on some of the responsibility yourself in a new way that would make a difference? Let's have your proposals on what we can do. with all our neighbours, with family and others who care about Sharston, to make Sharston and our whole city into the place we want it to be for the next decade and beyond. Just by coming here today, you're showing that you've already part of what we call our Manchester. Some of you here today already get this, and some of you are already in our Manchester spirit. Part of today's session is to share these experiences and to learn from each other. We'll also be talking with Sir Richard Lees, Head of the Council, and with Fiona Worrell, the Strategic Director for Neighbourhoods, and hopefully towards the end of our conversation, feeding back to them any proposals and ideas and hopes for getting Sharston into the shape we want it to be for the next decade and beyond, using our Manchester approach. So let's ask each of them to kick off our conversation today for a quick 5 minutes. So I'd like to ask Sir Richard Lees to come up now. Thank you.
Thanks, Maddie. It's a real pleasure to be here. Wythenshawe is, I'll bet make a confession, I live in Crumpsall, the other end of the city, but it's always a joy to come down to Wythenshawe and to watch it change and what's changed, particularly over the last 10 years, because really Wythenshawe has become a real success story. There's now about 2 jobs in Wythenshawe for everybody who lives here. That wasn't the case 10 years ago. That means there's fantastic opportunity here. One of the things we want to do is to try and make sure that everybody has the chance to benefit from those opportunities. It's not something the council can do on its own. Well, we're going to talk about Sharston being everybody's responsibility, and I've just picked up one of the cards from there, and it says on it, it's right, your area belongs to you, and that means the way you look after it, it will be what your area is. You will make Sharston what it is. Council does have a role to play, and what we try to do is to reflect what residents of Manchester say is important to us. The last time we had a big budget conversation with the people of Manchester, some very, very clear messages came back. Number one, people wanted this to be a caring city, to make sure we looked after those people who were in greatest need of being looked after. And that's reflected in the council's budget. Over half of the budget goes on adults and children's social services. It goes on looking after vulnerable people. As well as caring, though, you also wanted a clean city. You wanted one that there weren't potholes in all the roads and so on, which is why we've been investing in the roads, while we've been investing in more enforcement on littering, about trying to make sure we get those basics right. Do want jobs. Jobs for everybody, but particularly for our young people growing up. Good jobs. Jobs where you can support yourself, and so we do put effort into growing the economy, getting more jobs, but making sure that people do have the education and the skills in order to benefit from that. But you can't live on that alone. Or people also want a good quality of life, so they want libraries and leisure centres and parks and green spaces. And so again, we've got a job doing that as well. And what we try to do is set out in a 10-year strategy for the city, the Our Manchester strategy. That came from, again, a conversation where thousands of Mancunians told us what their dream Manchester would be like. And one of the things we now share is the task is how do we turn those dreams into reality? Maddie was talking about the elements, the principles in that strategy. How do we turn that into reality when, certainly for public services, every year for the last 9 years, we've had less money to make our contribution. And that's really where the Our Manchester approach comes in. Because our Manchester approach recognises that we all have strengths, we can all contribute, we can all do something, we can all make a difference, that we can make our lives better by working together in different ways. And I'll just give you a few examples of that. Some really, really simple. Recycling, putting stuff in the right bin. Well, actually, if we improved our recycling rate by just 1%, that would save £500,000 off what we have to pay to dump stuff in a hole somewhere. So what would rather spend £500,000 on? Dumping rubbish in a hole somewhere, or spending it on our parks or libraries or leisure centres? 1% saves £500,000. Helping neighbours, doing simple things. A few years ago when we had a really bad winter, we got really good at looking out for vulnerable neighbours who might need some support. We can do that all year round. We don't have to wait till we get a really bad winter for helping out our neighbours. I know not everybody has access to a computer or a smartphone, but if you do, accessing council services online. Access them online costs 10p every time you do it. If you go in person, it costs between £3 and £10. Again, is money. If it wasn't spent on that, it could be spent on something else, something that you probably put more value into. We have pretty poor health in this city. Charleston, actually, life expectancy isn't a star. That's something bad at. That's something we can all take responsibility for. I see we've got Manchester Active have got a stand in the room next door. Just simple things, taking basic exercise, walking. Walking maybe for those short journeys. Lots of people are still driving journeys of less than half a mile. Walking, being fitter, improves your life expectancy, takes demand away from other services. Health, your own health is your own responsibility. Looking after your surroundings. This always comes as a surprise to people around litter. It's not the council that drops the litter. We might go and pick some of it up, we don't drop it. And I'll give you a practical example from my street. There's a group of young men regularly gather at the end of the street. It's not something that's unusual. They don't really do any harm. I have to say that what they do is not always entirely legal, but we'll move over that for a minute. But what used to really upset me was they'd always leave a pile of rubbish. It would all be so. I went and talked to them and said, "Look, as long as you don't cause any harm to anybody, don't mind what you do. One of you lives 3 doors away. Why are you leaving your rubbish here?" And what they've done now is they've hung a black plastic bin liner off the fence and they're cleaning up the rubbish now. So they're happy and I'm happy, and it means the council doesn't have to go and clear the mess up as well. Air quality, real problems with air quality. Actually, we could take 10% of the traffic off our roads if more kids walk to school instead of being driven to school, and they'd be healthier as well. Well, they get some exercise, the air would be cleaner, something we can do. Looking after parks, and the friends groups have transformed our parks. If community's not involved, then we don't get proper use. So again, it's something that more people can do. And in this area, you've got some fantastic sports groups around. Sports groups, particularly for young people, apart from getting involved yourself, they also need volunteers. They need people to help those function. Lots and lots of things that you can do. But it's all well and good me standing here and saying that you can do this, that or the other. For it to work, it's got to reflect what's important to you. And that's what we want to do in the course of the couple of hours we've got, is to have a conversation this afternoon for you to be able to say what is important to you, but equally not only what's important to you, about what you can do to contribute to delivering that. Then for us, it is about working with you and all the other organisations that are involved in Charleston to make sure that together we deliver on that. But we won't do it unless it's what's important to you. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to hand over to Fiona for, I think I've had a long 5 minutes rather than a short 5 minutes, but hand over to Fiona and then we're going to get going with the conversation.
Thanks, Richard. And I know when I came in here this afternoon, it brought some memories back, because I was the ward coordinator in Charleston about 15 years ago. We used to have some of our ward coordination meetings here. That was before we got the tram and the college. And I think I don't think the Abbey were in their new premises at that point either. So Wythenshawe has really moved on, and Charleston has moved on. But just picking up some of the threads of what Richard was talking about, it's not just about those services. We really do want to understand with you what's important to you and what are the things that would improve the quality of your life living here in Charleston, but also the things that you would want us to help you to get involved in. And
in technical terms, we sometimes talk about prevention and reducing demand and things like that. And those are really, really important when we're thinking about where we place our emphasis in terms of budgets and where we place our emphasis on activity. But when we're talking to residents, it doesn't always mean an awful lot. So we need to translate that into language that you can understand and that means something to you. So what we're really talking about there is how do we work with you to identify where some of the issues are, where some of the problems are, and what we can do collectively together to impact on some of those. And it's not just about what the council does, as Richard says, it's about what we can do together, what you will want to do, what your community groups want to do, and what some of the organisations working in Charleston and Wythenshawe, like the housing group, like the police, with the other community groups, the LCO, as it shouldn't use that term, the local care organisation, which is our new health and social care integrated way of working, what we all do together so that we can identify where some of the challenges are now, what some of the future problems are likely to be, and what we can do to start to make a difference now together. But we can't do that alone. We could sit in our offices and think, oh, this would be a good plan for Charleston, but if it's not your plan, it's not going to work. So part of today is thinking about what's in your plan and the areas that you want to work with us on. We talked about, Richard mentioned schools, and we talk about parents all the time and the support that parents need. But there's some fantastic resources in Wythenshawe to support parents, whether it's community groups, after school groups, the stuff that goes on in our parks, in our leisure centres, and that's one of the areas that we really need to think about. What more help do parents need bringing their children up in Charleston so that they are able to connect with the jobs and the opportunities that are going on in the city. You only get one childhood, so we need to make sure it's the best one, and that whole community approach is really, really important for that. Again, residents groups, tenants groups are really the backbone of the group of society in different places. And when residents and tenants come together, actually they can make a very big difference. They know what their area needs and they know what's important to them in the places that they live. I live in the north part of the city. I was brought up in Burnage, but I live in the north part of the city now. And I know that in those areas, that the residents groups, when they come together, really understand what's important to them and what they want to see at their local area. And it's no different in Wythenshawe. And I know that through the housing groups, you've got some fantastic resident and tenants group, and we need to listen and hear what they're talking about. But equally, we need you to take that ownership as well, to really think through what would be important to you and what help you need and what are the things that you would want us to work with you on. Volunteering is really, really important. It gives people so many opportunities, whether it's accessing to employment, whether it's about testing something out or just getting involved in something in your local area. And you might know that the council has really pushed on volunteering. So every person who works for the council now has got 3 volunteering days that they can use every year. And if you want to know more about that, Mark over there has got all of the details. But what we've recognised is that we don't always know what you want us to do with those volunteering days. And we have had some really good examples of when people have said, we need some help with this.
This afternoon, I think the great thing for me, listening to Sir Richard, Filmer and Madeline, is knowing that everything that's been put into this film is around 4 themes that they talked about. So healthier, happier, safer, cleaner. And how do we get Charleston residents to think about what that means for them? So while you're watching the video, have a think of some ideas straight away after this that you'll be able to touch on. And there's a particular part of the video at the edit which is really hilarious when I think 2 youngsters are beating another youngster with a big dice in the background while the lady's talking. It's quite funny. Very innocent but very amusing. But the one thing that came out from that film was the people that actually really care. The people that live here really care about the area. So there's a lot of potential for Charleston to progress even more as a ward in Wythenshawe. So I'll let you watch it and see what happens. Thank you.
Charleston is a really vibrant place. You know, it's kind of it's an area that's really well connected up. We've got the trams, We've got the motorway links very close by. So it's an absolutely fantastic location because you can just about get to anywhere from here. It's also a beautiful area. There's a lot of greenery around. And what I really like about Sharston, it's got a real vibrant community. We've got schemes like Village 135, which is a £24 million investment into the area. It's a scheme that offers, happy, healthy living for people who mature in age. But also we've got the college over the road for younger people who are starting off in life, getting their qualifications. We've got local shops that are always busy. Wythenshawe Community Housing Group is a real anchor organisation in Wythenshawe. We're a £60 million turnover business. We have over 14,000 properties, and we're a developing organisation as well. We build much needed new homes. But actually what's really key for us in Wythenshawe is our partnership with the City Council and with local members. It's really key that we are all linked